we did this 4 days in Berlin. It was called Beautiful People, where we worked with individuals on how you unfold deeper meaning or background stories, if you want, from the challenges and issues they're working on in their life. And then afterwards, we thought in a conversation, the three of us, it would be great to add one more day where we have more time to just talk about the theory.
Right.
And we should treat it like this is just a day on the three of us, process work and our film thing, and human beings and us as a team. And no,
Super.
we've been working together for a long time.
Right.
If it wasn't for your vision and your generosity, we wouldn't have these films.
Beautiful day. Beautiful people.
How did it start, Xenia?
I lived in Moscow. I came to Rostov for your seminar.
I remember we sat outside having someone had carrot juice.
Yes, yes. I have to say, I was looking for teachers in a deep sense, and at the same time thinking it would never happen to me. It's for somebody else. And then I came to the room, I remember, I saw you, and I felt so real at that moment. I feel like I came home. I felt, oh, I will not let them go.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
That's
and
beautiful.
since then, I really love your work. I'm so grateful that you said yes to this project. Every time you work with someone, it resonates with my story also, and I can also have my insight and rethink something of my life. So that's why, I really wanted to film. And then when you speak about those process work concepts, it helps me to get to something bigger and, I don't know, more free.
Rostov, oh my God. One of the reasons we created the Deep Democracy Institute was conflict resolution. And conflict resolution has been done by many process workers, Arnold Mindel's process work, practitioners in different parts. And Amy and Arnold Mindel themselves worked on many levels, including government levels, around international conflicts and regional conflicts, etc. And of course, large group interventions. And DDI originally was founded because what actually might help is if in certain areas where there is a conflict potential, to create training so that you have local facilitators who are able to contribute. And at that time, Rostov, what was that like? How many years ago? About?
I would say 15.
15 years.
Probably.
So 15 years ago, I thought personally I always was interested in international
Or
politics.
even 20, sorry.
20 years ago. I thought, well, there are two main crisis situations in the area of Europe and the Middle East. One is Israel-Palestine, and the other one is Russia-Ukraine. And the idea was, well, Rostov-on-Don, I knew, was part of the Commando South of the Russian army, and the long history of southern Russia being involved in defending Russia against invaders. I thought this would be great to have a facilitation team there, a local facilitation team, and that's why we started to do seminars in Ukraine and Russia. And we also started to do seminars in Palestine, and some of our colleagues were starting to create facilitation teams in Israel. And now, it's amazing, we're sitting here together 20 years later, like October 2024, and both of these areas now are in a full blast armed conflict with thousands of people, hundreds and thousands of people dying. Tens of thousands of people are dying or threatened to be dead. So, as you were talking, I thought, but in a very small way, we did what we had hoped. And then we did all these films that we were working in Moscow with Russian people and showed the beautiful people of all the Russian people that came in from the street and did these incredible works. But then this year we did the beautiful people in Berlin, and we showed the beautiful people of also some Ukrainian refugees were there, some Russian people that for whatever reason moved away, and you could see the beauty of all the individual people in there, in spite of the winds, the time spirits, the zeitgeist that blows wars through the world.
Amazing.
And in the background of that, we're still able to show the beauty of the people that are involved in these tragedies somehow underneath. And so it just all came up. So I'm really happy we're here to do that and to bring that whole picture in. And it's what we've been working on. So when you say your work, I think, no, it's our work. 20 years.
As you were speaking, I was coming back to my original sense of being also touched by all of this. And I remember, it was 20 years ago, was a long time ago. And when you said about your work and then I thought, well, I feel like Xenia, you always said to me, I love the work because through the process, in the end, you always see a beautiful flower or something. And I always felt that that was me too. That's always like, since the first time I experienced that and it was you working and being able to experience and witness that was everything to me. And then in there is my work, which I'm also learning to love too.
You say, I am learning now to accept my work, right? And you're saying, well, you supported me in my life myth. We call it a life myth.
Yes.
You say, I feel you support me in your life myth, and I feel you're both supporting me in my life myth, and my teacher also supported me in my life myth. So for me, what it does now inside of me is as much a mystery as what you're. I'm not trying to say I'm not what you see in me or I am. I'm just saying, for me, I'm the same mystery and surprise to myself as you are to you.
I get you that.
I don't think there's someone who is like a teacher.
Yeah.
I've never met a teacher. I only met I met a lot of great people that were framed by a lot of people as teachers. That means a lot of people felt they could learn from that. That I don't think there is something like a teacher. I think there's learners, and then learners pick different aspects of different people. Of some learn from the nature, some learn from movies, some learn from music, some learn from singers. There's many ways, and some learn from professors, etc., etc. But you learn from someone, you call the person a teacher, but it doesn't mean that the person you're learning from has to identify as a teacher.
I love this, and not only do I love this, I'm really glad you're saying it because of that whole thing around teacher and what is a teacher and all of this, and it's how I experience it. If I experience something in my life that I can learn from, it's amazing. It's magical. And I love how you just sort of deconstructed that whole thing around teacher, which creates a lot of mind things for me and probably others too. And so I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. So we were speaking about international and how we met, and I thought that in how we meet, there was a myth of our relationship, in a way, yes. So maybe it would be a good moment to talk about life myth, because at the seminar, you spoke about life myth quite a lot.
The first thing also is a linguistic issue. Myth now has different meanings. So I think in English it's also used as, well, no, that's a myth.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right.
Meaning it's not true.
Yeah, meaning it's a fairy tale, it's a made-up thing, right? Like it's an urban myth that, or like where we live, there is this figure in the wood. It's called Bigfoot. And they say, well, it's a myth. But the myth, when we talk about myth, we mean background pattern. So Arnold Mindell was a physicist, and his interest in modern called hard science. I don't know why, because physics is not hard. It's soft and beautiful. But meaning, like in the background, is an understanding that these can be clearly defined concepts. So these are patterns in the background. And when we talk, there is a myth about our relationship. We don't mean something woo-woo. We mean there's a pattern in the background, and we are not aware of the patterns that are being played out. So I think this is a core issue that a lot of people struggle with. I want to show with my hand, struggle with and wrestle with that. That in process work, or instead of saying in process work, is Mindell's one of his big contributions is the idea of that there are three parallel worlds that require, if you want, a different mode of awareness. And they're parallel worlds, meaning they don't touch each other, hence they're called parallel worlds. So these are different levels of awareness, and they give us access to different experiences or different worlds. And our lives become whole and full and meaningful because these are parallel worlds. And this is not like a big thing. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. In all cultures in history, religion is based on the idea that there is an awareness of something whole that's all connecting us. And you can feel, you can't explain very well, or you can try to explain, but there's not one explanation that can be proven in the same way like these are three chairs. This is not consensus reality. And there is another type of awareness that everybody understands, which is like energy. Like everybody knows, well, I don't know why I like the person, but he's simpatico. I like her energy. That's a nice vibe. Everybody knows this, and these are energetic things. You say, well, how? Well, I can't explain why. It's just like a friendly vibe. Everybody knows this. And I think Mindell's contribution was to actually break that down and say these are separate awareness models, and we can use this differently. And that's why Mindell is also a natural outgrowth of a Jungian concept, Carl Jung, who said, we don't make ourselves, we happen to ourselves. Meaning, we discover who we are. We are not tabula rasa, that gets born and then educated by teachers and parents and then become as they want us to, or models. But we have our own stories, our own patterns that we happen to ourselves, and we're discovering ourselves through our lives till the last moment when we transition into something different, most likely. I don't know. But we discover every day something new about ourselves. So that's what we mean by myth. There are patterns in the background that aren't visible or conscious to us, but they still work on us, they express themselves through us. So life myth is like there's been kind of a script in the background of a particular figure in a play. And a life myth is the idea that you sort of have been handed, you came with that script under your arm into this world. But the script isn't, you're going to do this and this and this. The script is more like a particular kind of a role in that play. And then the theater, that's the world you live in. And you have to figure out in any given moment, how are you going to play this? Like, think it's like the world is a theater. You're coming in with your script, and your script says, for example, you're like a joker. And as a joker, meaning you have like more ability to see a sense of humor. That doesn't mean now everything is a joke and you're having a career as a comedian. It says you're still going to maybe a regular old person having a family, whatever, but there's a sense of humor and detachment that you bring into this world. Am I making sense?
Yes.
But how you formulate this, how you improvise this role. So like life is like your ability to improvise on an ongoing basis every day, the type of
role.
Of role.
Yes.
It's not a fixed role. It's a fluid role that you improvise with. It's like improv theater. It's not a script like when people say, well, can't I break out of that life myth? Or can't I change it? What they mean is, I'm caught in this play and I don't like it.
Right.
Because I'm the one who is like never succeeding in making friends or what have you. And of course, that's not what it means. This is not about how well is the play perceived from the audience. You sell a lot of tickets with your role or whatever. But an ability of playing and improvising that role, and you're in there anyhow, that script is playing out in spite of you. And our work in process work is we're supporting people to expand their awareness so they become a little bit more aware of that pattern. Script is not a script, it's a pattern. That pattern, so they can start to have a little bit more fun with it and also trust it, because this pattern is actually fits into the whole, and it's a gift and it's a talent.
I love what you say, and
You're excited about it.
no, it's really, and I thought the first the word role could be misleading a little, not because we use sometimes role when we say you have like a status quo role, like I'm in the role of, for example, my gender and my age and my, so all these things that consensus reality
Good
roles.
for you. Yes.
And then, but the life myth in a way is outside of all those roles, and often it creates inner tensions around, because what is that underlying almost script underneath is propelling you or encouraging you or inspiring or something you often to be in ways that don't fit with the role, the roles that you have and how you're supposed to be in the local time and space.
Yeah.
And so, but then...
Great point.
Oh, thank you.
It's a great point. So you could try to differentiate, but now I'm nervous it's going to make it a little bit too complicated. But you could differentiate by saying polarity. Polarity, we live in a human lives and the planet is partially ruled by polarities. And you need polarities in order to have awareness.
Can you say more?
For example, you cannot have awareness about light in here if you don't have awareness about dark.
The dark, yes.
So we live in a place where you have a night and a day.
Right.
And there are people that live groups like animals and plants that basically enjoy less light or more light. But the concept of light and dark, you can't have a concept of light if there's only light, because I'm struggling how to explain that.
But that's,
Yeah, and people struggle with that. For example, nearly, I shouldn't say that, I think it's very hard to struggle that you cannot have a concept of peace without war.
right.
So many people say, I want to have a world that is peaceful. And so you cannot have a world that's peaceful. Because you wouldn't be able to define it. You can define peace as a space, a different space from war, you know? One of my favorite stories is in my culture, there was like a later saint, his name was Niklaus von der Fleur, and he left his family, I think, when he was 50, so he must have must have had an Hindu background in an earlier life, where it was more normal, I think, in an Indian tradition, to leave your family like in a part of life and become like a spiritual seeker, because that was more considered at one point or another to be, you know, a normal thing for like older people, become spiritual. And family life and family responsibilities didn't always go along together in that thinking. You understand I understand where they came from. But he was something like this, so he went up on an Alp because he was going to contemplate on the sufferings of Jesus. And there was a big thing where in Switzerland where at the time there was nearly something like a civil war, and they called him down and he facilitated this whole meeting together, and the conflict was resolved. And then the government who had called him down wrote him and said, that was always very touching to me, and said, thank you so much. We would have had a war if it wasn't for you, and you brought peace. And see, I'm touched now because of the wisdom in that comes through this long contemplation alone in the mountains. He wrote back, no, I didn't bring peace. Peace is always there. We just forget about it every now and then. No. So the reason I'm so touched what he's saying is peace is a state of mind. We get pulled into polarizations, and they're like, and then once you're pulled in it, it's very hard. You look at all these wars now and you see how people are on one side, and they hope that the other one, that they will win and the other one will lose. And it's very hard to get out of that. So we talk about the polarizations, also the expression of these polarizations, we also name that as roles. For example, you can say now there is a role of Israeli national, and there's a role of a Palestinian national, there's a role of a Ukrainian national, there's a role of a Russian national, there's a role of a leader that has no compassion for their own people. There is a role of a leader that has no compassion for the enemy. There's a role of a hero that is dying for the culture. There is a role for their place or ethnicity. There's a role of a traitor. There is a role of someone who doesn't want to be involved in the war. These are various polarities, and they always come in two. That's why it's called a polarity. Right? The moment you have one, you create the other one. The moment you say, I want peace, in some way you create the war on the other side, because someone says, well, no peace for me. Easy for you to say peace because you live X, Y, Z, and you don't have my problem. So if I hear peace, I actually get furious over here because you don't understand where I'm at. And over there it's like, well, the reason we don't have peace is because you're pulled into this state. And then over here I say, well, I'm pulled into the state because you are actually in the state of peace. So we also have names for this, roles. So it's confusing if we name life myth as a role, but it's still sort of true. And we also use the words for showing polarities in energies.
Yes,
No?
yes, yeah.
We say everyone is serious. So you have everyone serious. Usually there's an enfant terrible who starts to clown around. Everyone is in good behavior. You have at least one person who will offset that by doing something opposite.
Isn't this where comes in the term ghost role, though? How we can differentiate, like in that example, for example, where everyone is on good behavior, then the ghost role would be the enfant terrible, or the one who doesn't fit into the, or within a culture there's the status quo, and then the ghost role is the thing that doesn't fit in, and then in a way we have it inside too, in ourselves. There's the identity, how we think we're supposed to be, and how we are, the expectations inside and out, and then the aspects of us that don't go so much along with that. We don't call that a ghost role technically, but it's similar idea that it's more marginalized. What do you think about that?
I love it. I love what you're saying. I think the reason why it's called ghost role is a ghost is someone who is present. We feel it, her, him, but we can't quite see him. But occasionally we see him a little. No? So like if you have a ghost in here, so in history it's like, well, I think it was just so the curtain moved there. That was the ghost. I think that was a ghost. And it's spooking around here. And I thought out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something happened. No? That's why it's called a ghost. So marginalized, so polarities appear not in terms of that you can grasp them, but you still see them ghosts spooking around. Like I give you an example. For example, I can say, well, it's important that we here, the three of us, are very present in this conversation. Because people will be, there's going to be a viewer, they'll be watching us, and they have their whole concentration on us, and they're going to need us to be fully present. And so now you can see, I'm saying this, But in the meantime, my body is starting to do something else, and I'm yawning. Even you start to look a little sleepy. You feel like it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but it's not being identified. But the viewer sees this, he sees the curtain move. But it's not thought out. It's just like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Something else is present. You know?
So the relaxation, the sleepiness is present, correct?
Yeah,
Sleepiness is present, but you don't say you're sleepy.
I
you
say
don't
we have to be fully present. Fully present. Can you follow this? And this is the ghost. That's what's spooking.
Okay. And so this ghost role, it's information in the field that we don't want to say it's me.
It's not that we don't want to say it's me, it's we don't know it's me.
Right.
Like now you say, well, you look like you're not fully present. Try it,
Yeah,
Xenia.
you look like you're not fully present.
Why do you say that? I mean, I feel I'm fully present.
Well, because I am watching your body, and your body is kind of lying down.
And you say, and you yawn.
And you're young, and
Well, I yawn because it's an oxygen. I mean, it's not enough oxygen in the room here, and it's something with the chairs. This doesn't have nothing. It's not my fault. Can you follow me?
Yeah.
And it's not my fault that there's no enough oxygen in the room,
Right.
and it's not my fault that these chairs are the way they are. So I have nothing to do with this,
Right.
and I can explain to you exactly in every detail why why it is doing what it's doing. It's certainly not what you think, that I'm not present. I'm fully present.
Okay. Then I would say, well, but then I have the same chair, I have the same air. Why do I have to be all present, even for me, for you, and for all of us? It's not fair. Please do your job. Don't do your half of the job.
Well, then I would say, well, this is your problem. I don't know why you're not yawning and why your chair is good for you. This is not my problem. My first teachers, I wasn't fully present in school. And then also my parents always said you're never fully present. And my whole life, I've actually spent most of my time being fully present. So when you say I wasn't fully present, this is very hurtful to me. And I think it's a complete projection of you. I don't know if you had some oxygen before you came in, etc.
Yes.
We're making now fun of this, but can you follow the basic thing?
Because of all the expectations that we have of ourselves and each other, we're supposed to be, in this case, for example, fully present. And you're not allowed to do this one. But then if we open up to the ghost role, we might all find.
And the expectations, then you say the expectations. And I like how you say that, and then people will say, yeah, we have all these expectations.
Right.
But where do these expectations come from?
Yes.
It's spooking. Hi, I am Mr. Expectations.
Yeah, and no one will stand and say, yes, I'm the one who says you have to be present.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, start out there.
Okay. You have to be present and you have to get things right. And
Not with me.
you are supposed to be fully present, and you have to maximize the time that you have on this earth and in this studio right now. Make sure that it's very productive. Everything comes out that needs to come out. All the points that need to be made are made. And to do that in this short amount of time, you have to be fully present. You have to be sharp as a tack, and you have to bring everything that you have to the table.
Well, okay. I feel relaxed now because I was the one who made, I was preparing, I made all the notes, but then I wanted to be very relaxed, so I put them down, but I still have them in the back of my mind.
So you mean you feel supported by
I
this?
feel supported by what you said when you got up and say you have to be focused and bring all the points. I felt okay. You understand me now, because I have this inner conflict in me. Like I wanted to be very productive, and at the same time, I just want to have fun and relax.
That's really neat. Can I answer this one?
Yes.
Because now it becomes real for me. That's beautiful to hear you say that. And then I think, so I too want it to be something, but maybe productive isn't the word, but I feel going through, let's see, what is that? More things like this for me. I guess I have to say, what would it mean for me? Would be like to get to the depth of something. So,
But I'm very curious what you want, what you have to say, because I feel that maybe you're touching something that I'm also curious about.
so I feel getting to the depth of something, of a point, for example, or something that really wanted to come out would be in the most satisfying, and then the pressure to get to something
Right.
and to do things, then I feel makes it for me harder to access the thing. That's what I would think.
And I struggle with that all my life, by the way. I struggle with thinking of myself as a horrible public speaker because of that pressure, because if I have that pressure, I cannot to understand what I want to say. And then I freak out, and I stop saying anything, and then I criticize myself. And so the way I try to deal with that is that I put my points so I don't forget them. So if I get completely lost, at least I have my points. But when I am just like very relaxed, I can quiet down, and then I'm like, oh, that's what I wanted to say. So, but
I'm dreaming into it. It's relieving that that you guys aren't alone with this, or feel understood, or.
Not only though that part, but for me it's also when you said then I get relaxed, and then I got touched in a way that I felt somehow, okay, now I can work. Like it got enough, I don't know what's the word, but actually present, but differently so in a way I feel someone else is here, and I could say, okay, so what is wanted from me now? Yeah. By you, by the space, by you, by anything, by the audience, what is wanted, if anything. I want to serve that.
It's a beautiful example. In the beginning, we started out with a ghost who said you have to do this and this and this and this. No?
Yeah.
You were playing this?
Yeah.
And to be present. And then the two of you started to, it looked like, have a slight polarization around it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you process the polarization, and now you're having what's called a cool spot. Both of you saying, well, actually we are more present. somehow we want to be present, but we are more present here, like I'm checking with you.
Yes.
Because
It feels really true. So.
I'm more present if I don't have the pressure of that figure, or if I don't give in. You cannot have pressure, but if I don't just give in to that pressure, yes, and I'm becoming this, but if I can be
Yes.
relaxed, and then I can find where I'm at.
Yes, and it reminds me what you said some minutes before, that I forgot exactly how you said it, but it's not, we don't want to identify with it. We don't even know it. Like,
I don't know what you think.
yeah, I agree.
Then, as a man, I would think that it gives me naturally more freedom to pause and a little bit, and to say, let me think about this. Whereas, like, maybe with the female socialization process, you're more, like, there's more of a figure there. You have to be like all these men we've been seeing.
Yes.
And that adds more stress to that actually, in a way, you just showed blocks you to find how you want to speak.
Yes.
And think that's actually you guys working on sexism too.
It's really amazing. Thank you for
True.
naming that.
Thank you.
And so it's not just personal something, it's also a collective issue. And a cultural issue.
It's really helpful. Thank you for noticing that and pointing it out. I notice how terrifying those figures are. Like, and what a relief it is to have it spoken out.
Yeah.
And what a relief it is. Actually, in this moment, I find it helpful to name that as an aspect of sexism, because it makes me feel, oh, okay, so it's not just me and I'm crazy and I don't fit in this world only. And that's painful. And I sort of am not aware of that a lot of the time. So it's helpful to know it. So then I can interact around it. Because before that, I don't even know it. So I don't even know that I could work with it.
Right.
You too?
Me too. At the same time, being a woman, I don't want to feel as a victim of a society. I also don't want men to feel that they did something wrong to me. So somehow I want to transform the feminism where I feel I'm not alone, but I don't want to point fingers on, other people.
I agree.
Yeah.
I understand too.
So, I don't want to replicate that.
I agree, but I can't point at someone. And I'm also aware that all of us, even how you described how as a male socialization you are brought up with this. This is how one is.
In a Eurocentric culture.
Yes, yes.
Would be different if I was Asian, for example.
Right, yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were grew up in California. So for you, well, I don't know. So my experience as an immigrant in the United States is in California, it's more supported to be outspoken
Right.
and powerful in where you're going with your thoughts and what have you.
Yeah, yeah.
So whereas in the Swiss culture, it's actually good to be quiet and wait till you feel you have something to say.
Right, right.
And then I'm thinking, I don't know how it's in Russia, but certainly I think it's an important part of the Russian culture is not to be victimized by things.
Right.
What do you think?
Oh, wow.
Great. Yes.
So,
Great.
but that doesn't mean it's not true. It's just saying this is the theater stage we're playing in.
Wow. Oh my God.
But
And then there's the
waking
light.
up to that is so amazing. It's freeing. So I felt the opposite of a victim. In a way, I feel when I'm more asleep, I'm not even aware that I'm a victim of something, but
Right.
I'm not able to connect with something else in me that is more nourishing in a way, or feels more real.
Right.
So waking up to all of those things, but when you're swimming in the middle of it, I know we teach this theory all the time, and but at the moment I feel I'm just getting it for the first time in my experience, how that is and how hard it is to catch it. Like when you're naming all of these things and you're saying in that culture and that, and how much I'm like, you said I'm like completely like asleep about so much stuff. It's
and how
I
gender
wanna
and
wake up 'cause
culture
it's
play
more
with
fun.
each other.
Yeah.
And yes. Wow.
Yeah, me too. I'm growing in the area of understanding diversity more in my role, in my generation, my gender, my background, like you guys, like a lot of people. But I don't think the solution is, that's what I loved what you said, that men finally get it. For me, but I hope they will.
I feel the same.
Or that my generation finally gets it. But what we like to teach is what you just modeled now. If it comes up, are you having some interest in continuing till you reach a cool spot? So like if you think of all these conflicts and polarization that goes as wave in the beach, right? We see like we live near a beach, so we see like the waves are rolling in and then they break.
Right.
And then once they have broken, then they relax and then they have a good time on the beach, just lying there. So I don't think that we're going to be able to get the waves out of our lives. But if they come, are you able to surf them and do something creative with them? Or are you just sitting there feeling you're a victim of this wave that's overcome you and then blame the wave for that it's there?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
No, it was a wave that came through you, you know?
Right.
There's like, I've never, I shouldn't be saying that. I know people are defensive of their roles because frequently they are blamed.
Yes.
You feel, the human being inside of me feels I'm blamed for my gender. The human being inside of me at times feels I'm being blamed for the entire thing that my fellow skin color members did. And that's an important point. But that's a group process. You can't, one person can't solve these things alone because they're not meant, they're systemic issues, they're not meant to be solved by an individual. Am I making sense?
Yes.
I cannot, in my view,
Right.
I'm talking to a viewer, in my personal view, I can't solve sexism.
Yes.
I'm not meant to solve sexism. We are all of us in all of this together. You cannot solve for yourself these whole issues that you worked on, but you can find cool spots in that conversation. So it's a completely different paradigm. It's why we're doing facilitation. That's why we're not doing correcting wrong behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why we don't hand out rules. Please, if you speak to so-and-so person, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but do this, this, and this, and this, and teach political correctness. Also, this is important. But we're focusing on things that appear out of nowhere, and then are people able to facilitate this conversation so that they find temporarily a cool spot in them. And then in groups that happens on a larger scale, up to 1,000 people, then these are actually like role play. This started out with a role play. And you showed in many things how in a role play you can pick this up personally and come to personal cool spots and insight for you as a person. That was amazing.
Why then we need cool spots? Why, like, if there will be polarizations always, if we're not, we cannot solve social issues, me and Ellen, for example, why do we put it as a goal to reach a cool spot?
You were talking about the levels, and you said one is when we are all one. And I was so touched when you said it, made me cry. And then it happened again, and it linked to me, and I thought, is this a cool spot? Space is when for a moment we're in that all one. We switch levels, and we're one, and it's a beautiful experience. So I don't know why, but why not? It's great, you know.
So in a way, this all one and cool, not spot, but cool thing was always present. And then we somehow could open up to that experience.
Well,
I'm having a struggle with my thoughts, and I'm trying to actually get to the essence, and it's a battle right now. So thank you for it.
yeah. So, like, take, for example, one of the conflicts at the moment. I think America doesn't understand Russia, and Russia doesn't understand America.
Right.
That's why there is a fight. If one side would understand them a little, they would be able to facilitate. I've seen Ukrainians and Russians working on this. We know in several groups now. I just talked to someone who is like leading groups with Russians and Ukrainians in Spain. And they're having a lot of conflict, but they're creating now cool spots individually. But I think if two people can work out a cool spot, their countries can work it out too. How long will it take? I don't know, maybe a few generations. I was working in Yugoslavia, and it was something with Kosovo. I have a conversation with a person in Kosovo about this or that, and I said, explain to me why you are so much against that other group. And the person said, well, they burned down one of our religious symbols. And I said, okay, when? And he said, 1,500 years ago. So these things go back so long in history. So I'm not for cool spots. I'm not saying we need a world that is full of cool spots. But I like cool spots. I'm a conflict. I'm not an artist.
Right.
I'm a conflict facilitation fanatic. So, and there are artists, and they paint it already. They paint. You can watch like the whole drama, and it's on a screen, like in a movie, for example. And you see like the problems of war, like and what Russia goes through. When you saw like Dr. Zhivago, which was like written by a Russian and then filmed by an American, and you can see that, and you can feel that. And for you that evening, you might have thoughts on a cool spot. So there's many ways of how people work with these issues, and facilitation is just one of them, and psychology is one of them. And if you were interested in this is fun. And if you're not interested, you're not anymore watching this anyhow because you turned it off after 3 minutes.
I love it though.
You?
I love. Well, for me, it really, I feel this sense of relief and happiness, like when you said, working it out between the two, because it fits my experience too, because it just feels so right in my being, in my body, to come to something and new, and I feel it changes my world, and it also, so it encourages to keep going, because if I think there's a world out there that needs changing, I'm already giving up, like it doesn't. And it also is encouraging to the inner work, like all of this. It actually, I don't know theoretically, but in my experience, it helps the world. I feel like it does, and it feels good to realize.
Okay, this might be connected to your life myth. It reminds me of a Zen story that I really like, that I always really loved, where this guy wants to become a Zen adept, and he's going to a Zen, he's another Japanese person, and he's going to a Zen teacher. And but it's like the person wrote a whole book about it. And he describes what happened. And then he says to the Zen teacher, what do I do? Then he said, you split wood. Just go and split wood. And then he goes, splits wood, and there's a lot of wood to split. And then after a week or 2 weeks, he says, how long do I split wood? And then the Zen teacher says, you get it? How long do I split wood?
Yeah.
And then he continues, and then finally he has like 10 mountains of split wood. Then the point of what's like, explain that, because Zen says, you should get to the point where you can be present in the moment, and then all there is a piece of wood and you splitting. There's no more, how much longer do I have to do that? How did I split the wood or whatever? So finally he feels he got there, right? And the Zen teacher sees that and he says, okay, I think you split enough wood. He doesn't talk anymore, how long or how was it? And he said, now you have to go out, I have to leave here, the monastery, and you can create your own little Zen community in this other place. And the guy goes there, and he splits wood. And then after about 6 months, the Zen teacher says, we're going to come and visit and see how you're doing. And then, this is you and your points. You were my Zen teacher this morning. Then the Zen teacher comes and he sees this mountain of split wood. And he says, wow, somebody split a lot of wood here. And the guy says, yeah, me. And the Zen teacher says, why? And the guy says, well, you taught me. The point is to split wood. And the Zen teacher says, no, 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 that was then. But now, you're free to do whatever you want to do. And you suddenly no longer have a spontaneous idea of what to do and start to doubt why you're here. Split wood. So I think this is perfect. You have the points there. Maybe you'll never use them during the whole day. But if ever come to the point where you don't know what to do, pick up your points. Isn't that a beautiful story?
It is a beautiful story.
It's amazing how you told it too.
So behind it is the freedom of spontaneity. No, the hope is to become more spontaneous. And I loved that someone I read on Facebook, someone wrote and said they asked Arnold Mindell, they wanted to become more spontaneous. And Arnold Mindell answered, well, you can't be truly spontaneous unless you have a relationship to your secondary process, to your dreaming part, meaning the part of you that you don't control. You can bring that out. And so that's part of spontaneity. So why cool spots makes you more spontaneous.
Okay, that didn't get. Can you please?
Yeah, like if you see, like let's say, at one point when the two of you spoke about how that was, you both looked super present to me and real and spontaneous. It wasn't thought out anymore.
Right.
It just came out from where you were at and you were moved, no? So the fact that you were able to see, well, that's really me, but that's me too, and that's me too, and then you realize, well, I also like to be like this and not just like this, that's when then spontaneity comes in. So like if I'm convinced I am a man. And this problem comes up, I lose all spontaneity. All I can think is dig in. No, this is me. I am not sexist. I'm not racist. I'm not heterosexist. I'm not. You are a little bit. No. You are a little bit. You can't say. I am maybe a little bit. Maybe a big bit. How do you see it? You understand?
Yes.
There's no one there to
So when-
switch sides and have a good
So
time
when
with
you're
it.
very polarized, you are stuck. Well, you're not stuck. You're rigid even without knowing you're rigid. Is it correct?
Yeah.
So you kind of stuck without knowing you're stuck.
Yeah, because
Yes.
you don't think you're stuck, you think you're right.
You think you're right. Yes.
That's called being stuck.
Right.
If someone says I'm right, it's just, they might as well say I'm stuck.
Okay. Cool.
Now,
Now, yes.
This is something you can take with you. I'm right when I say that. You can, if you can write down when I'm stuck, it means I'm right. When
Yes.
I say I'm right, it means I'm stuck.
Yes.
Now that, Xenia, I am right about.
Correct.
I will always think that because that's right. So in my case, I am actually right, I'm not stuck. But all other people, when they say
They're right.
they're right, they're
also
stuck.
Yes. Well, I love that you, well, I call it fluid, switch side. It's not about morality, it's about discovering, it's about learning. Like you're like, oh, I think inside of you, oh, how does it work? Like that attitude, you know, it's like, oh, I'm curious, and even I'm part of what I'm studying.
Beautiful.
So when I'm stuck, it's funny because I'm also looking at myself, how it's happening to me, and it's that attitude of researcher.
I understand. I have a recurrent dream that I jump off the balcony and I'm falling down, but I'm not scared or whatever. I'm just know this is the right thing. And as I'm doing it, I'm starting to fly. And then I'm flying, and then many nights I fly, and I fly into other houses, and I can fly all the way in the window and look how people live and get to know them. And I can see like the fights they have and the sex they have and everything. And then I have only one worry: will I make it home in time for breakfast? So my parents won't notice that. And I feel I have the same thing that's teaching me that you just said so beautifully about me now. It goes against me because I want to fight back, but even if I'm in a really complicated situation, I have someone who says, interesting, why are they doing that? You know? And it's not just why are they doing that, and I love the encounter. So I even had a period where I was like involved in like dog training, and I loved these moments when I had these things on, you know, when you train dogs, and I had like some dogs that were so fierce, and I could feel the focus and the aggression that they would come to bite me in the arm, and I thought they were just fabulous. Because it was just focus. I never thought it was aggression. It was just single focus. And I think this is what draws me into traveling and different cultures, because also it's often painful, complicated. I get a chance to find out the relativity of my own culture, and I just love, I can't help it. It's like, I just love the other. Also, I'm learning to respect it, right? Like I love snakes, and we live among bears. I love bears, but I understand that loving bears means you respect them. You don't want to get near them. You don't want to feed them. But you can still adore them for their beauty and their strength. So that's what you're saying. And in that part of me, I also struggle with, there's no moral judgment of the other side.
I love that.
Sometimes
I love
anger,
that.
sometimes anger or fury or my territory and stuff like that, but I never think like that's a bad person. I don't think there's bad people, you know. But there are bad relationships and painful and cruel things, but they're not bad, like morally corrupted in that sense. They have like processes we don't understand yet. So you can't be, I don't believe in the good and bad thing because of the whole duality issue. You know, bad means they're doing something that you don't like.
Right.
Because it doesn't fit into where you want to go with your life. No? But for the same reason, like yesterday, were you here yesterday? Yeah. Amsterdam was terrible weather. No?
Right.
And I wasn't prepared for it, and I got really wet and it was freezing. And I didn't think that was bad of them.
Right.
I think it's the weather.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And,
You guys like that?
Yeah.
like once, I remember you said, Xenia, you're not a woman. Like it was 10.
I said that?
I said that 10
Yeah, I
years
feel that
ago.
about everyone.
Yeah. And I was like shocked, like, wow. And then it took me, I don't know, 7 years to get it. And I just love it. It frees me, you know.
Beautiful.
It frees me,
I
yeah.
love that also, that it plants a seed and it lingers there for 7 years, and then, that's what, I had that the other day. I told you I forgot what it was. Something that I got it for the first time, even though I learned it 20 years ago. Something like this.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And the way somehow, also I wanted to ask, it's one of my points, is like, when you speak about this kind of things, you never, it feels like you're not afraid to hurt me. You can laugh at things like death, you know, things like suicide. What gives freedom to do that?
I know what
do
you're
you think?
talking about in Max. I would edit it a little because I think it's not you laugh at suicide at all. It's, I feel that you, Max, or you have the ability to have an awareness outside of everything, and also a heart that's right in it, and that understands the fragility of our human lives and beings, and goes to a space that allows you the freedom to know when it's a good moment to lighten things, even joke in a moment you would never think you could.
Thank you, that's helpful. You are seeing this aspect in me that you are so beautifully complimenting me. I'm not trying to get away from the love. A little bit, but just a little bit, because I'm nervous. But I'm trying to be courageous and brave about it. So it makes me nervous because of rank, sexism and racism and all of this. If suddenly, like I turn out to be the teacher.
I understand.
I'm like a little afraid of it. I'm trying to protect myself, which is stupid because it happens anyhow. But what can I do? I'm working on it.
I love how you said all that. Yeah.
So, but then, in my life, I don't experience the way you experience me. In my life, I'm struggling with the pseudo-moral that I grew up in.
Pseudo.
Pseudo. How do you say that in English? Pseudo?
Yeah.
The pseudo-moral, right? So, like a self-righteous, judgmental thing. These are bad people, these are good people, these are sinners, they go to hell, this person is not a sinner, you know. So I struggle with that. I have a lot of inner struggles around that daily. Then I have to think, yeah, that's because of who I am. And I find that exciting. I find it liberating if I find somebody in me that is unconscious and through their unconsciousness hurts other people. That's a liberation. That doesn't mean that's bad. You understand? I have an advantage. I think it's liberating if I find out that I was a jerk or a creep. You understand?
I understand.
Whoa, this is great. Yeah, I could do this more consciously. I have more fun with it. So what you're talking about when you say you do this and you do this, because first of all, of our things, you're more open to this. And sometimes you see this in seminars, and it really works great. And I will tell you why I think it works great, and also why I feel that's me, and I love that that's part of who I am. But then during the day, I'm like an artist, and every now and then I feel something comes out that's a little bit of a masterpiece. And then in between are also 5 drafts that came out terrible. And then people come like 20 years later and say, you know, you said this and this to me, and this was devastating to me, it was terrible. And I suffered from it afterwards. And I feel then, of course, terrible. So, am I making sense? And I don't think it's going to be different for the two of you.
When you talked about how you struggle and then something goes bad and you and I think of how much I nearly don't even want to struggle because it's too scary. Like I nearly don't even want to do it, you know. It's really hard to, like, it's easy to make light of it, or even with the thing before, oh, did I do that bad? Was that not good? And I need encouragement and support and all of these things. I feel it's actually true for me. Like it's
You're
hard.
not meant to struggle. Your life has no struggle in it. You're a basically positive person because your life basically says, don't worry, it's all going to work out on its own. Relax. Because there is magic involved in life, and all you got to do is open up to the fact that life is magic and it's all going to work out. So that is a different type of struggle. I have something that I can't wait to say.
Say it.
Sorry, but it's not connected to that.
Think anymore. Say it.
So, I want to say something about unfolding, and get back to the original point. So I feel I feel for me, what we just talked about, I think, was I learned and got my main support for this for many, many years from my teacher, which was Arnold Mindell. And Arnold Mindell said in an interview, I developed process work because it allowed me not to be judgmental. So, and for me, with my life myth, that was like a remedy, because I felt I was super judgmental, and in the beginning mainly towards myself, because of everything that I felt inside of me, all my impulses, spontaneous impulses inside of me were considered they didn't fit in. And I fell in love with my teacher when I met him, because I felt that. But I didn't know why. I mean, I didn't have those concepts, or didn't know myself enough what was happening. But I fell in love. But then what really brought it home was that in my mind, we talked about these parallel universes before, that Arne, I think, did something incredible with process work for me. And it's called unfolding. So like, it started out in the beginning with the dream body. You have like a body symptom. And then you have a body symptom. So for example, I recently had a serious issue with one of my ankles, with my left ankle. And I went, like any normal person, to a great sports surgeon who said, we have to operate your entire ankle, whatever. Yep. They said, you won't be able to do anything for 6 months and what have you. And then I thought, well, actually, I don't want to do that. And I worked on the ankle and called unfolding. And I even did it in a class with one of our students. And because we like in our training to show that the so-called teachers are human beings. And I had this amazing experience by allowing the ankle to collapse and then both ankles to collapse, meaning instead of trying to fight what was going on, the collapsing ankle, I actually went with it. We called it unfolding. And then using my awareness, and it went all the way down, and I was out, and I had the experiences of just a little bit of a movement when I'm not on my feet, and I noticed it felt a little bit like water, and I became water. And in that was becoming more fluid. And also, as you know, Deep Democracy Institute went through a change, and not all of these changes were easy for me, at least in the beginning. And this idea of fluidity changed this entire process. And I just went with it. I stopped running and I got into swimming because I thought, okay, this is life. You know, I love running, but can't continue to run. I got into swimming. I swim, and at one point, I started to jog a little bit. And then we got help in Amsterdam because we went to Ouderkerk, which is we had a run in Amsterdam. We used to take a car all the way out and then run along the Amstel. It's about an hour and a half run back to the hotel. And I thought, we just hike. I can't run. And I was lucky because it was one of those Amsterdam things, like it came out, it was like beautiful sky and the sun. And like 15 minutes into the whole thing, it started to rain. All I had was a T-shirt. I thought, okay, we try running a little. And then we sort of like hiked back, and I could feel my foot was a little bit stressed, so I didn't do much. But now I'm running like every day again. And I shouldn't. But it is. And that's called unfolding. And I know running isn't the point, but the point is I do feel I've become more fluid around a lot of things and easier to let things go that I feel attached to. And I got a lot of help from you that you're very supportive in this whole process. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So unfolding is an amazing thing.
I loved it. Oh, sorry, go.
Is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is to develop faith, the process of developing over time faith in the experience of the unfolding. Like you have inside of you a piece of nature that nature gave you. We call that the life myth. And another way of saying this is like when they say in Hinduism, namaste. Like, I see God in you. And you can say that's the divine in you. And to think when you have this kind of experiences that you trust the divine in you and that you trust, well, I just worked on that and I got a cool spot. Part of me feels better if I don't follow strict rules. But if I'm being more myself and have the points with me in case I lose it, and that you have faith in that, and the next time you teach, you think, actually, I don't want to go against my nature. I want to try to stay a little bit with it. And I think that's a spiritual work. You can't do that for other people. You can only struggle with that yourself. But everybody struggles with something like that.
I love it. And I love how you brought it all together.
Yeah.
And the unfolding, I kind of just want to highlight it. This example with your ankle, that it's a disturbance. You don't like it. You like running. You don't want it. And then, first of all, to take the disturbance and then try to open up to it in the sense that if you follow the experience, not fix it, it will have an elixir in it, is already really complicated for the identity, and that it's much more known, or it's common for me, and I think many others, to try to make explanations for why the thing is like it is.
Of course, and then, like in this case, sorry.
No, go. Say
Really?
it.
So in this case, so the doctor, which, we live in an area that is like one of the centers of like track and field, and it has like among the best surgeons in like sports surgeons. And so I was in that sense lucky, because the person I went to is like known in their field. And then I thought, yeah, well, I mean, I can get it operated. It's okay, 6 months, and then we'll see how it goes. And then a voice came, yeah, but then I'm not saying like you have to accept what happens, but to be open-minded about what happens and unfold it. So it's possible that if I would have unfolded it, not water and fluidity would have happened, but maybe something really rigid would have come out, and this rigid thing would have had a focus on it. I would have thought, okay, this is actually surgery is the way to go.
See, this is
You know
so
what I
great.
mean?
Yeah, meaning you follow the experience.
Yeah.
So that there's no one way and there's no right way. There's only the way of the disturbance, and shows, and that it's a complex, I think, practice and art and science to find and follow the experience in the disturbance. So I love it so much, and I think that's also a lot of the, like, when we're talking about the work and the work and the work, it's a long-term mastery path, learning. What do you think about?
I love that.
So,
I love that. I love that.
When you speak about unfolding, you also say many times that I don't follow rules, I follow signals. Like a person is leaning forward or, I don't know, stepping back or stuff like that. But I think my vision is limited. So if you could speak more about the signals, what exactly you follow, correct? And how is it possible to follow signals in another culture, because our body languages are different?
With signals, I think signal work is not everybody's. There's many ways you can do process work. If you teach signal awareness, you have teaching means that the person has to learn something on the other side. No? And you have an agreement. This is different from what we said before, teacher and student. But now you have an agreement. I came here to learn salsa dancing or speaking Arabic. The main thing about adult education is that a large part of learning means unlearning. So the main enemy of signal work is we are used to think in terms of generalizations. And
Can you give it
yeah, I'll give
example?
examples.
Yeah.
In terms of generalizations. And we are used of not looking on a particular detail to understand it. So we look at the detail, and then we look at a particular detail and we give it naturally into a larger category to understand it.
Right.
For example, facial recognition. I don't recognize the details, but I recognize my general image I have of the face.
Right, and it's a habit.
Well, you've been taught
Right.
to recognize this. But following a process, you cannot no more generalize. There's no such thing as generalization. So, I don't know, have you ever watched, like on YouTube, for example, when they do this crazy canoe stuff?
No.
No? You should look at it
yeah,
once.
I will.
So we were running along the Dillon Falls in the Oregonian mountains. It's a beautiful path, and then next to it runs a river, and it has like all rocks, and it has like crazy waves and whatever. And afterwards I thought to Ellen, wow, this is wild, it's like life. And then I thought, there must be someone who is canoeing this. And I Googled it on YouTube, and sure enough, you see like two guys who are, you know, like super kayak people going through those falls. And you, like, let's say you learn that, right? And then you say, so how do I get my kayak through this part of the river? And then the person says, well, first of all, avoid rocks. Avoid rocks. And if possible, avoid this and that. No? And the moment you are actually in the river, it doesn't help.
Right.
Because there is the rock, and you're thinking, okay, I have to avoid rocks. And there is no rock here. And then you go there, and before you know it, there was a vortex and it pulls you under or something. And then you come out and say, I follow the rules, I avoided rocks.
Right.
And then I say, well, not this type of rocks. This type of rocks.
Right.
And then you already have broken down the category rocks into 3 different categories. But it doesn't work like that, because if you're ever following the moment of a river, none of these categories work anymore.
Right. And you cannot remember them. I mean,
Yeah, and it doesn't help. So, for example,
so does it mean that my question is not helpful? Does it mean that...
no, it means your question is human.
Right.
Your question is human, meaning you're looking for categories, how do I follow signals?
Right. Okay.
And then, so the first thing is, in the teaching as well, realizing that there is no way to generally explain how to follow signals. And the reason why is because if there was a general way of following signals, you would have to think there's a general personality type or something. But each process is completely different. You're looking for the particular stream of the experience. You don't talk about generalities, but you're asking for the direct personal experience of the person. So you're working on another level. You don't work on a consensus reality level. Consensus reality means where you have a category that can be measured, meaning compared to others. You're working now with an individual special expression, and each of them is unique. It's like saying, like, so what do you think? Can you make a general rule from fingerprints that tells us if a person is like white? And it says, no, the reason we have fingerprints is because they're not duplicated, they're unique. No? Yeah, but can't there be something, like, there's got to be something that people have in common, not in fingerprints. So you can think a particular process or a life myth, it's like a spiritual psychological fingerprint. And you're trying to find the quotation mark person behind that fingerprint. And in order to do that, you have to look at each particular fingerprint. So you can't generalize. So for example, if people watch you work as a process worker and they're trying to understand it, and I know people have that because of the feedback that we get from like watching, for example, some of the movies, that they're looking and they're saying, okay, I want to understand that, and by understanding that is what can I compare it with? For example, we see that in our classes, make like a demonstration, and then beginners come back and say, I really liked it. And you say, what did you like? I say, well, I liked the love that the facilitator had with the client. And so then I translate that into, so the facilitator was open-minded and loved the client, including the symptom, including the anger, including this. No, it was open-minded to the stream.
Right.
It didn't say, rocks are bad, I hate them.
Right.
You have to say, no, rocks are good, but you have to respect them, not get too close to them.
Right.
If I get too close to them, I have to learn and to practice what to do if I hit the rock. It's not the end. Don't get scared. It's just the beginning of a process,
Yes.
right? Now, every good kayaker, I assume, knows this. I know every skier knows something like this.
I love your analogy. It really helps me to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. Now, the difference is it's more like riding, where you don't, you no longer just have a system like a water stream, but you're sort of working with a horse.
Okay.
So the client that you work with has a rider, that's the identity. It's not a good analogy. And the horse, that's an autonomous thing. And they collaborate, so they've learned to get along with each other. But in order for the rider to really enjoy riding, they have to have a relationship with the horse. Every rider knows this. You're both riders, right? So everybody knows this is a living being underneath with its own spirit, with its own experience. And if push comes to shove, it's stronger than me. I can't force it into something. Or not for long. I can force it into something in the morning by drinking 3 coffees if it doesn't want to be present in the old sense, no? But it's not going to last because I'm going to get into a slump afterwards. And if I use coffee till the evening, the whole thing goes completely crazy and I have to drink a couple of beers to
Calm me down.
calm it down. So there's ways how you can like work with the horse underneath, but in process work, you actually want to get to know the horse, befriend it, and then kind of have a relationship with it. So that's the first thing with signals. So when you say, for example, how do you ride a horse? No? Can you explain to me, how does one ride a horse? Then you can say, yeah, get on it. What happens then? We'll see. What if I fall off? Okay. If you fall off, while you're on the ground and you're still alive, think for a moment what happened, because did you even know a little bit beforehand that this is not working? Did you feel the relationship isn't 100%? Can you follow this?
Yes.
So this is basically when you work with a process. So if you follow a signal, you can't focus too much on the content of the person, because a lot of the content of the person is an explanation to who they are and why they're having this. Like my ankle has an actual consensus reality bone structure issue, and they would know how to fix that with a surgery. So this is a parallel universe. It has nothing to do with facilitating it.
Okay.
And then, so now in this case, if you can get back in some kind of free-floating attention, where you listen to what the person is complaining about and stuff like that, or what their idea is, what happens. It's important, but it's not going to change what it is, while at the same time waiting for something that the person feels they don't understand. And then that you can, or that they don't identify with, that they're not in control over. And then once you have that, you can start to work with the person to unfold the unknown.
The unknown.
You guys, can you think of an example?
Well, normally not in control of my partners.
Right. So for me, today is cold here in Amsterdam. The unknown that I cannot control would be the cold wind.
Okay.
You follow
Yes.
that? Now we have to unfold the cold wind.
Should I say mine? Or
No, now
you're
work with
waiting?
me with my cold wind for a
Okay,
moment.
okay. Go back to being in the cold wind. How did you know it was a cold wind?
Well, I mean, there was wind blowing. Everybody knows if it's wind blowing, that's what makes you cold.
How did you experience the cold wind?
Well, I came out and I thought the sun was a little warm. Then I saw you shivering. And then I thought it must be cold here.
So can you recall like an experience of being cold yourself?
I felt it. I felt the cold.
Okay. Okay, so just make space for that.
Okay.
Okay. How do you notice it? Feel it.
Let me take this off. I have no idea where this is going, but certainly it's not going anywhere where I hoped it would go.
It's called the unknown. That's why we try to stay away from the
I know,
unknown.
I know. These demonstrations are rarely ever go well. I like it. I like it without this.
Okay, what's good about it?
I grew up in a cold climate, and how would you feel if I now explore my friendship with the cold?
Yeah, that'd be great.
This is good?
Yeah, I was going to say open up to the cold.
Okay, okay. I'm on an edge.
Okay. How do you know you're on an edge?
Well, I can feel it, and I don't like where it wants to go.
Oh. Start by feeling it.
Okay? So, I wish I wouldn't have gone there. So, so here is the thing that first comes to my mind. So in my 30s, I was sometimes skiing in this little place in the Swiss Alps, and had a couple of farmers. It was not a very populated place, and then there was like the woman there. She might have been like in her 50s, whatever. She said, "You know, this is amazing. Like now, I've changed so much because of the whole civilization and stuff like this. And now I've become so spoiled." And I said, "How?" She says, "Like, for example, I am so sensitive to cold." You know the story.
I do.
"I'm so sensitive to cold." I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Like, you know, when I was younger, we didn't have a washing machine. So in the winter, I would have to go out and make a hole in the ice in the river and wash my clothes. Now, if I do that today, if I ever go with my hand in the ice water, they actually get cold." So I think I'm touched by that. That the hardiness of the people that grow up in cold climates, and that learn to get along with very little. They're very frugal, and they're focused on being alive and survival, and not focused on comfort. I feel we got to it.
Yeah.
So what looked like a small thing in the break was a marginalization. Wow. I came in and I talked, I was happy to see the film team again. And I said to the film team, someone in the film team said, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm alive. Life's great. Every day is a good day. You breathe, that's cool." No? So that was in the background of my being cold. Yeah, I feel really good about it.
That's great. Beautiful.
It warms me up. The thought that I can enjoy the fact that I'm breathing and being alive warms me up.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I feel so close to you now.
How so?
There's something about basics that you spoke about. The insight you got was also, for me, sounds so simple, you know, so difficult to get, but so simple,
of course,
you know, and it's this contradiction
of course,
just amazes me.
Of course, yeah. Well, now I'm thinking of global politics, and I think of financial restrictions in Russia. No? So there's like all these financial restrictions on Russia, hoping to change them. Whoever is coming up with that has no clue about the Russian mentality. No? No clue. And no clue about the Russian history, no clue what it took to live and survive in Russia, and no clue how Russians relate to hardship. No?
Yeah. We got spoiled also, so.
Yeah, it's not anymore.
Obviously.
Yeah. But these are still underlying, and that's an underlying national culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ellen?
Well, I'm working with my own experience of coldness as you, and as you were working, I was just unfolding and finding the essence for me of something cold. it's like there's a coldness in awareness in a way. Notice this, notice that, notice that. And it also terrifies me in a way because it's so unsentimental and unfeeling. It's just like that. And yeah, and I know that's also a part of working with people. And okay, that's like that, that's like that. I don't care what you think about it. It's doing that. It's completely, so, well now, so that's what was starting to happen. Now I'm getting to that's the cold for me.
What's the warmth for you? You said, I love the heat and the warm.
Yeah.
This looks good on
Yeah,
you.
and the warm is like, it's like this, it reminds me of when you said to me earlier, well, you don't have to struggle. Like there's something else. It's like,
Aloha.
it's, yeah. It's like, just feels really good. And it's like this and like this. And it feels good and embracing and warm and
Yum.
like that. Now
I
pulled
wouldn't.
the sun
I
off.
wouldn't know the part in me, the toughness in me, that lives through physical issues and medical issues. You know, lands after a 10-hour flight,
Right.
and within an hour is in a swimming pool that's not heated.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to appreciate that as I do now because of your warmth. And I don't know, I mean, maybe it's something similar for you, that for you to appreciate your interest in warmth, openness, abundance, and love and feeling, if it wasn't like the contrast to my upbringing allows you to get to know and appreciate that part more. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
You're thinking.
Well, it's because I think there's something more than the contrast because you also love it about me.
Yeah, I mean, you're super tough. You're super tough.
But that's not, oh, thank you. I love that
No,
too.
but
you
you're
also,
super tough. You're super tough. You don't look like it from the outside, but in a crisis situations, you don't like.
I feel
You're present. You're an amazing fighter. You take on whole large groups if needed.
so sweet. Thank you.
Well, I have a lot of more things. Like I notice I've become that farm woman. And I also feel like, what's wrong with me, you know? Like now I still love skiing. And we were skiing and my fingers now start to get more cold. And I saw they were selling heated gloves. And for a moment I thought maybe I should buy some heated gloves.
No judgment there from
The moment I start to think, no, this is an enemy, I have to do something to protect myself against it, that's the end. Is this maybe enough for the signal stuff?
What was the signal you followed? Can you repeat
cold.
that?
You mean the cold?
Yes, the cold. Yes?
First was the cold.
Cold.
Then the step was, how did you know you were cold?
So you ask that because all experiences are different, correct?
Everyone's experience of being cold is different.
Like, let's say, for example, okay, we go back to this is good. Okay.
It is, yeah.
It is, it's really good. Okay, so say something recently that happened to you that you were not, you said other people, like who? Like you don't have to say the name. as long as you know it?
Yeah, something that I didn't like. Yes.
That you felt you were not in control of.
That I'm
It
not
could
in
be also
control.
something that you liked.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. Okay, so the one person who is a partner, he kind of disappeared from the project.
He's
And
gone.
He's gone. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I could make an educated guess about the process, and I would say, yeah, this particular person, I wouldn't work on that because I would just forget the person. It's not worthwhile to work on that.
Okay.
You're smiling, positive feedback.
Uh-huh.
So why did I say that?
Yes.
You said he just disappeared.
Right.
But you didn't say he just disappeared. He said he just disappeared. And when I said it, you smiled and you said, yeah. So your hands are ahead of you.
Right. Okay.
Then the human being is still upset or hurt or whatever.
Right.
But the hands say,
Yes.
throw it out.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
But that's not good process work.
Okay.
That's an educated guess
Yes.
into a double signal. It's
Right.
not an interpretation, but it's an educated guess.
Okay.
What would be better?
What would be better? Yes.
Well, for me, it wouldn't be. It's not good. No, but it can be good. For example, I had a situation. I like studying healers, and I had a situation, and I learned early on that if you want to study how healers do their healing work, you have to bring them a real problem, right? Yes. And so I was teaching in Australia, and I wanted to meet an Aboriginal healer, which I found a person by asking someone that I have a problem, and the problem has to be real. You can't fake it because it's an insult to the healer. And then I did have a real problem at the time because I was finishing my PhD and I thought it was sort of stuck or I was procrastinating. And I went to the healer and then I said, I have the problem, and I explained him the problem. And then he said, okay, I have a solution for you. And then he told me the solution. Then I came to an edge, and then he tunneled the edge for me. So he said someone is jealous, and that person is stopping you from completing it. And then when he said that, I knew right away who it was. I said, yes. I said, but the person is dead. And then the healer said, okay, I go in the other world and I finish him for good. And then I had to struggle with that, of like letting that go. I came into a real dilemma. What do I do? And then he said, you don't have to worry about it. I'll take care of it, maybe in another way. But the fact that someone came up with the solution and understood me without the moral issue that I had because of my relationship to that person, healed me. But it took me like 15 or 20 years to figure out exactly what had happened, how that was connected to the relationship to the person. So I was healed in a moment, but it took me many years to catch up with the healer.
Right.
So healers are amazing, but they tunnel your edges. By tunnel, tunnel means you make a tunnel and go through it without that you have to
struggle with it.
It's
Right.
a little bit more complicated. The term comes from physics, right? So if I make an educated guess like this, you feel relieved, okay, but the edge was tunneled for you and you don't have awareness about the part of you that hangs on to stuff, the part of you that gets attached to people, and all of this. So you're going to have to work on that. So it would be less flashy for the movie, but better for you if this would go slow and you could say, wow, what's hard about that? And can you be the person who just left and all of this?
Right.
Am I making sense?
You're making sense.
But
yes.
this is not about process work, this is about following signals.
Yeah, because could you also say, if you're following signals and you noticed, you said she did this or whatever, and you could say, oh, like this, or...
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, why?
Because that's a double signal. And double signals should only be used if the process comes to the edge of the person. Like, let's say, for example, I have no idea if anyone who is new to process work can follow this, but I don't worry about this right now.
Yeah.
So, let's say, for example, I notice this signal, right? I say nothing. No? Then avoiding, for example, with someone who is not initiated in double signals, I say, you made this movement. And the person would say, yeah. I mean, he left. And they start to interpret the signal, their own signal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think then I could say, for example,
a lot of bad habits.
well, now I can't, it's artificial, but let's say, but we can still role play a little. I would say, really, what was so hard about the person leaving? Did you love him or her?
I love what he brings to the table, to the company, to, and he's very knowledgeable in the culture. He has many good connections.
Okay. So he was helpful for your business.
Very helpful.
Okay. So.
And he could be more helpful. So.
More helpful.
Even more helpful.
So, do you have a sense or an imagination or a hunch of why you said why he left? Yes, that one.
Okay, so I think that we are not interesting for him as a potential. So I think he wants to spend his time on other projects that have bigger potential for him.
Bigger potential for what?
For making money, for example. I don't know. He wants to hang out with I'm just thinking more important people, more wealthy people, more people with ideas that could bring some bigger project or whatever. And I think,
Do you ever have fantasies about bigger projects yourself?
Yes.
Really? Like what? You can't say, you don't have to say.
Yes, I want to say, but I think I'm not too smart. I'm not smart enough for that.
For what?
Like something, project that have to do with something modern, very modern technology, I don't know. Something over IT that on the edge of the future, something that has to, I don't know what, but something that includes physics and IT and AI and the future.
Okay. So when you say modern technology and modern science changes our lifestyles in many ways, right? And you would like to have your work do something on the challenges that come with this new development.
Yes.
Like, tell me the vision. If you do that, then whom would that be helpful to?
Well, my first thought was it's just so exciting. For example, AI could develop some medicine that could, rejuvenate our whole body, or...
If it would be rejuvenated, what would happen with your body?
I could live for 300 years.
Because you love your life?
I love my life.
What do you love about your life?
It's unpredictable. It just opens up in unpredictable ways, like today, for example. it's full of surprises, and I don't know what will happen tomorrow, and I don't know how I will react to it. And it's just rediscovering every day.
I understand.
I like that part.
I understand. It's a Faustian dilemma, you know?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you know Faust? Yeah, it's a Faustian dilemma. Faust, it's from Goethe. Faust makes a pact with the devil. He says, you can have my soul, but I want to have a moment that is perfect, where I can say, oh moment, stay forever, you're so beautiful. But then in a moment he says that, he loses his humanity. Because life is no longer unpredictable, it's no longer curious, you don't know what it's going to bring. Okay, what are you thinking?
So we unfolded.
Yeah, we
The part-
enfolded him,
Him.
right, right. So now he left you for a bigger game.
Right.
You should try it.
The bigger game.
Well,
Or
apparently you light up each time.
Okay.
So you'd have to leave certain things behind you, which he did.
Right.
You'd have to reduce it. I don't know if you
Yeah.
have to leave it behind, but you would have to facilitate the tension between the new self and the old self. You know what I mean? Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Oh, yeah?
Thank you.
So the new learning. We think people want to become more important, want to get more money, and that's for sure true for everyone, right? But apparently, the part of us that wants to learn new things and is excited to learn new things will do everything so they can be in a new learning situation.
That speaks to me.
Really?
Yeah, very
and
much.
So like then the question is, how are you, in this case, you can see like, what can I learn more?
Yes.
For example, do something with youth. Because they are now growing up with AI. So, well, anything I want to say to one, so if you look at the ghost roles, so one of them is youthfulness. You agree? So we have like a couple of great videos where people say, I'm getting older because of this and this and these body issues. You remember this?
Oh, yeah.
And you see that actually youthfulness seemingly doesn't seem to be only related to how you look and what your body can do. And it's also an attitude. And a larger issue is, for example, that the older generation doesn't get it that they can learn from the youth, because the youth are actually growing up in a different time spirit.
Yeah.
Right.
So they seemingly, when we complain, the youth don't get it. The youth complains, the older generation doesn't get it. So we just have to listen to them and think, these are our elders and they're teaching us, and then we can catch up. And in a weird way, that actually keeps our youthfulness.
And that's the 300 years, living 300 years and being old and young
In the
at
moment,
the same time.
in a way.
Yeah.
No?
Right.
So there's many ways how to tunnel that. However, the idea is still that the exploration of impact, I struggle sometimes and feel what I do should have more impact. I feel what process work has done has a great impact. I feel I contributed to this. I feel you've contributed to this, you are contributing majorly that we're sitting here, and I think you're contributing this and both of you are changing me. So I think these things are present in every moment. That's harder to catch.
Yeah.
And I think it's important in a phase in life that you think, okay, I need to have something big, and eventually comes to be like, what is my impact actually? So understanding your impact. Do you know what I mean? Like living in an environment that constantly feeds you back the impact that you have. Like, for example, in this whole morning, you have told me over and over and over how you've changed or opportunities you had because of something that I did. So if I go home and think, well, that was a great day, I wish I could have impact on more. Hear me out. I have a problem. Not many people have a chance to have friends who tell them what impact they had and have a YouTube that is actually viewed by a whole bunch of people and have that impact. No? But then you can still feel like people who actually never have a YouTube thing, so they have a big impact in their micro world. You know what I mean? But the reflection on, do we have an impact on a person? That's true. Like the farmer woman in Switzerland who never left. Like I said, did you ever leave the valley here? And she says, oh yeah. I said, when the last time? She said, well, the last time, well, we had to go down and shop for this new thing. That's been a while. How long was that? And then her husband says, yeah, that's been a while. Was it like 10 years? And she thinks like, I had no impact. And here we are, 50 years later, and saying she actually had a huge impact on me for her whole life, and that impact is being translated.
Yes.
But that's hard. You have to understand group processes and how change happens.
Right.
Maybe at a level issue, like in consensus reality, you count how many viewers or how many Facebook, all of this. But if you have a cool spot between the two of us, or in a, I feel that to me it's has a big impact and it's very powerful. And then who knows how much impact it has? It's not for us to know.
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question to you about the unfolding, because this is something that happens to me on an ongoing basis, where in my own practice, I was trying to do it, facilitate your cold experience. Then I want to ask you about it in terms of the channels, and first asking, I understand asking, how do you know, or how did you experience the cold wind? And in my head, I had a bunch of things. There's a movement channel of a cold wind you could be. It's an X energy. Then there's an experience of cold. Then you said, then there was seeing you cold, so there was a relationship. And I thought, there's all these channels that you could go on. And then you had another one, which was befriending.
Yeah. So in retrospect, I would have picked up the relationship issue. So my first realization it was cold was seeing you shivering.
Okay.
Because you were saying, oh, it's nice and warm in the sun here, but you were shivering. And then I thought, no, it's cold here. So that I think I steered away from that because we weren't trying to show relationship work, but if you want to, we can play with it for a moment now.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so do you want to go back and notice?
Yeah, so it was you shivering.
Okay. How did I look? What do you see?
I see this.
Okay, and now you're starting to move like that too.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Maybe you want to even move more? Make space for that experience.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Make space for that. So you don't have to amplify it at this point.
Right.
You just, by making space means just use your awareness. You don't know yet where this is going to go.
Perfect. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you wait now with each step of me. So don't lead, follow.
Great.
You just relax, do nothing. Yeah, and now I go like this, and let's say it goes like this for 10 minutes, and you're starting to think maybe something should happen. You can say, don't rush, take all the time you need, you know, when you're getting to something. Because you're starting to feel there's a time issue, and then you want to give me awareness about that, but not by telling me that where are you going, but saying, stop thinking about time, because I'm already not thinking about time. So by the fact that you allow me not to think about time, I can afford to awareness. You follow?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me shiver, okay? And then
Great.
when I have that,
Amazing.
and now I'm making space for being afraid and shivering with fear. And I feel there's a force that I'm scared of. It's faceless and bodiless.
Okay. Wow.
So now I switch.
Yeah, please.
Then I switch, and now I'm becoming a faceless. I try a little bit in my own way to be a faceless, bodiless terror.
Wow.
Okay, I got it. So I am changing in many ways. For example, one of the ways I've been changing is I have this thing about talking about temperature, cold water swimming. So we live near a lake, and then the lake, the temperature drops to like 13, 14 in the winter. And I try to stay in the water and still swim a little through the winter. And I go down in the lake, and then I wait in the water. I go slowly into the water so my body can get used to the thing. And during that time, it's very still. It's in the winter, it's very still. The usual birds or so, they've moved south for the winter. And then, because I'm quiet and just feeling my body numbing out in the cold water, I'm discovering this whole world. For example, there are these tiny little spiders that walk on the water. And I see them walking around, and they're coming after. First they go, they move away, and then I'm sitting there quietly, and they get curious, like, what is this? They must probably feel me heating up the water. And they come a little closer, and then I move one finger, they like leave again. And there's grass growing in the lake. And then I'm noticing, because I drift out slowly, that sometimes something of me hooks like one of the grasses and then pulls it out. And I'm sure I step on some of those spiders, or did before, without even noticing. And I think life is an amazing thing. We come and we go. We can't understand that. And we can't understand the force in the background because it's mindless, bodiless, and faceless. And I would never, I love these spiders. And now I have a relationship with the grass. And I think the grass is the hair of the spirit that lives in the lake. And I'm sort of like going now through the grass and float, trying to be careful not to pull out the hair, you know. And then I think while that happens at the same time, I understanding the terror of the unknown that gives life and takes life. Like it follows up your thing about getting older and having a medicine, whatever. But then there's still all this unpredictable thing about life, like earthquakes. We'll never be able to control everything. And I feel that's the only thing. The real thing about opening up in life is to the unpredictability, because it's terrifying.
Yes.
It's terrifying that we can't rely on anything. We can't plan on anything. I mean, we can. But we can find all these cures, and before we know it, like something new sprouts, gets up, and what have you. And I think it's terrifying and beautiful that it's so unpredictable. So I think that's what happens for me. So befriending that and understanding your own contribution. We're all like these little water spiders, you know. Doesn't matter, even if we invent car batteries and then we're the richest man on the planet and we can buy a social media thing and think we can have an impact because we have like 112,000 million followers who believe in what we're saying. We're still just little spiders on the water and gone. So that was the tremor. I love you guys.
It's awesome.
You know, I love you guys, and I love to be here with you, and I love living with you, and I love coming out and seeing your face.
Wow.
In the break, and it's a good day.
Thank you.
And I love the team. They've been amazing and supportive and creating an atmosphere already in Berlin of like discretion and support and the hospitality with the coffee and everything. I love the guys who like we rented a studio from.
This is really, really, really precious. My true terror and fear would be that I would miss this, what you just said, that moment. Because it's the only thing there really is. It's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that matters to me.
Yeah.
And
You don't want to miss that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because everything else.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that.
Thank you, guys. Were you going to say something?
I'm very good at making, schedules and plans and making things go, and so everything is working. But then when it's working, I miss this.
But now we have it.
And now here we are.
We have it. And if it wasn't for your planning and your strategizing, we wouldn't be here. This conversation would have never happened. It certainly wouldn't have been filled.
Right.
So anything that you have is your child.
Yeah.
This is your child, and it's being fed by a responsible mom who is looking for the milk and the granola and the health food, and makes it all happen. So don't put that down.
No, I treasure this moment very much.
Yeah. But I understand.
Yes.
I understand. I think also this is partially DDI. We just worked like for 3 months now, in our upcoming intensive. We have like people coming from Africa and from Asia, and it turns out that because of some visa issues or so, maybe only like 5% of what we did will fruition. But I know if one person from like Africa will be there, there's going to be a moment where in that moment I feel it was worth the entire 400 or 500 hours and the resources that we spent to get the whole group there, because it still will be one moment and that's going to be life-changing for a lot of people. For one person, or at least for me. Yeah, I think that's cool.
Me too. Were you going to say something before?
Yeah, now how about we make something shorter now on a large group? Large groups, so this was the difficult part, individuals. Large groups are easy. Because large groups are ruled by time spirits, meaning the time spirit is similar in its meaning, but more differentiated in its definition than Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist is a German word that has found its way into the English more academic vocabulary, which is the spirit of the time, you know. So like you say, for example, there's an epoch, the English word?
Epocha по-русски.
Yeah, epocha in Russian. Yeah, like for example, a particular art goes together with a particular art expression, and in there is a lifestyle expression in a particular culture, or there is like a period when there's like a pandemic going through the whole world, and this, like for example, you look at some plagues that went through humanity that changed how we think about death, right? So, for example, the concept of an individual death in Europe came forward, became an issue with the plague, where suddenly there was a question, will we now survive as a species or as an ethnic group? So all of these things, time spirits that come to us, and they change us. So large groups usually focus on collective topics. I hate these analogies, but they're still useful. So think, for example, if you have like an orchestra of like 500 people, then there is something in the background where you feel, okay, so the wind instruments are sort of like realizing they're playing together, and then the percussion realizes they're doing something together, so it starts to organize itself. So like in large group processes are easier to facilitate, but people are afraid of them. So the more you have worked on yourself and you understand yourself, or have concepts what could happen if something goes wrong, and you're becoming more familiar with having faith in your own process and your own ability to flow with the unpredicted, you start to relax about large groups. So frequently people think, oh my God, it's a group of 100 people. I've never worked with such a big group. And then you can't tell a person, yeah, that's nothing. you work with a group of 20, that's much more difficult. So the complication about tracking large groups is, can you identify as the little spider on the water? Meaning, it's not your responsibility. You're facilitating, like, someone told me early, like in my 30s, that the Tibetan monks would sometimes live in the forest, and they would like facilitate issues between spirits by screaming at them. They'd be in the forest, and facilitating issues. I don't know if it's true, but I like the analogy. So you're basically facilitating spirits that are like interacting with each other. You follow me?
Yes.
Groups do their own thing and have their own idea of what to do. And when an escalation in the group appears, right? That means the group is struggling with something unknown, or that they feel they're out of control of. And you start to get a little worried as a facilitator, this is getting out of control. Then you can look at the signals, the polarities are there. And you can say to the group, there's a polarity here. How about we slow down and try to unfold it?
Okay.
It's basically the same, like if Xenia makes that hand movement, that you can say over here, well, I noticed you made a hand movement. What do you think? Do you think it could be interesting for you to look at that movement? And then either a group will say yes, or some will say yes. Then you have to facilitate a kind of a consensus. And then if you have the consensus, you, with the help of the group, you unfold that by trying to go deeper into the roles. And that, depending on the awareness level of the group, that works relatively well or not. So if you have groups that is with many marginalized positions, it's much, in a way, easier it's more taxing emotionally, as in the book, in Arnold Mendel's book, Sitting in the Fire. But it's easier insofar that people have more awareness about their roles. Am I making sense? If you are being oppressed, you know everything about the oppressor.
Right.
The only issue is the oppressor knows nothing about their oppressive side. Am I making sense?
When you say, you just go deeper, how do you mean go deeper? Can you explain that?
Yeah. Like,
into the roles. Go deeper into the roles.
Like, do you have an area in your life where you ever felt oppressed? A little?
Yes. My parents didn't let me dance. I feel marginalized as a dancer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel the one in part of me that likes dancing is marginalized.
Okay.
What would you say on the other side?
But if you dance, then instead of getting a career, you'll be just dancing and having fun.
Okay. So now all I have to do if I want to deepen this is I have to remember what happened when I was a kid and wanted to dance, and my parents wouldn't let me dance. Right?
Okay.
Let me try. And I can say over here, I would say, you have no idea. My whole life is to move with others. We have so much passion for what we do, and we feel unbelievable when we actually find the move that is us. We feel we are alive, we are learning how to be ourselves. It's the most ecstatic experience. And you are stopping that, you might as well kill me. Good?
Super.
That's deepening the role.
Right.
Because now, over there, you must have some experience like that somewhere in your life, or some people in the group might recognize that, and they've forgotten what's that like.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've forgotten the joy of, wow, at the end, that was cool. I saw your move. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, that's life. Life is not you have to learn. Life is
Right, yes, yes.
So that's deepening the role.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And see if you can draw on your own experiences by thinking, or maybe you know someone who's been in that spot once themselves. And then you can try that, and then maybe people will say, when somebody will, like a dancer, will say, oh yeah, that was good, but it's not like that for me. And then you also, that's like gold. You can say to the person,
How was it
oh
for
wow,
you?
how was it for you? And then the person will say, no, for me, movement was the only way that I feel I could break out of that horrible atmosphere at home, which was stuffy, everybody hated each other, nobody spoke. And finally I could let that all out. And then you had like another role that's in the marginalized dancer. Good, okay?
Gorgeous. Wow.
Okay. Okay, what's next? How are your points?
Okay, so we spoke about critics. Inner critics, we mentioned them quite often, and how do they get inside of us? What's wrong with us to have critics inside?
I'd love to answer that.
What do we do with them, basically?
Yeah, see, I no longer follow the concept of an inner critic.
Okay.
I think if you look at the overall historical development of process work, the inner critic was a part of a very early phase in process work, where Arnie came out of a Jungian background, and in Jungian psychology and a Swiss mentality that goes together with Jungian psychology is you're an individual and you have an inner life. And the life is inside of you. You don't speak it outside and you don't see it outside. So Switzerland is a very introverted culture and you don't really sort of speak. You have your private space inside. And it was a beautiful thing which allowed Jung to do his work in a way. And as a whole in the culture, group work was not all that much like supported or so helpful. So, for example, Jung himself believed that group work would create abaissement du niveau mental, a lowering of your mental niveau, because the moment you're in a group, you're no longer an independent mental thinker. And I think that's true in the sense that the moment you're in a group, the ghost roles, the roles and ghost roles that are present in the group, you can't differentiate yourself. So like later, Arnie, I think, would frequently explain group process by saying, think that in a group there is like a tea, and the different cups that are sitting around, they're all being filled by the same tea. So I also use inner critic with the people because they can relate to it, but I don't think of them as an inner critic. I think of them, I don't think of inner and outer anymore. I think Tibetan Buddhism, in my mind, is spectacular. It's like if you look at Tibetan Book of the Dead, where they write there is different bardo states. And in these bardo states, these figures appear and they threaten you. Or they're the peaceful gods, and then the angry gods and what have you, and the hungry ghosts, and they threaten you, and they say in the moment you touch them, you realize they're a figment of your imagination, and they actually can't do anything to you. So an inner critic can drive you out of fear into not wanting to live anymore. But the inner critics can't do anything. No, this inner critic is not like, you know,
They're not.
It's in the field. Now, the effect of that, for example, in the beginning of HIV, or in the beginning of the first diagnosis of like breast cancer, there was a general feeling out there that this was like, you couldn't do anything about it, and you would die. And people died very quickly because that's like voodoo, right? There's like a role in the field. And then some internalize that and they think like, I have HIV because I was immoral. God's punishing me. I should have never been A, B, C, D. I should have never done that. There's something bad about me, and they get depressed, and the depression lowers your already affected immune system and all of this. So I do feel there's a relationship to it. But these things are ghost roles, and some of them, because of your personal history or what have you, or your sensitivity, you pick up, and now you treat them as an inner critic. But if a person says, I have an inner critic, I think it's great with them as if it was an inner critic. And at least, but I don't never think that's an inner critic. Do you ever have an inner critic?
And you work with the roles.
Yeah. Do you ever have an inner critic?
Probably yes. Yeah, I do.
Can you say one?
That
you can share?
I experience something like inner negativity. It's not I think inner negativity critic is the same.
Make a face for
all the
negativity.
time.
Make a face for negativity. You should watch that later on the thing.
Oh, I don't want to. It'll be, yeah.
Where do you see this face? Or where do you feel that face?
That's good. Yeah. I feel that face in like...
I can help you.
Thank
I feel that face because now I have like dyed my hair occasionally,
Right.
no, these last few years. And the reason why was because I'm using youth as my teachers, and including like new music styles and what have you, like K-pop and hip hop and what have you. And I love to talk to the younger generation and see if something catches my excitement to join that in my own way. And I can see, for example, sometimes I see like people in my age group, they look at my hair and I can see like all the judgment in the background. And a lot of that is like, you know, so can you follow that?
Yeah, yeah.
So then occasionally I feel it. I look in the mirror and then I'm starting to think, why am I trying to be young or something like this? And that's their face. I can feel the face says, was he trying to be young? And then I think, well, is it me or is it them? That's a hungry ghost in the background.
Yeah.
Can you follow that?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have that.
So that's why inner critics don't go away.
Yeah.
They don't go away.
Why you say it's a hungry ghost? I didn't get...
Can't get filled.
Right.
Yeah, you can't ever satisfy an inner critic. It won't go away. Why? Because it belongs into the field.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I can't even pinpoint because I can't think of someone.
No.
I just feel this attitude.
Yeah.
And then if I watch me on a video or whatever, I can think, yeah, she's so like, why are you like this?
Shut up. Let her be. She's great.
No, she's
Shut up. Nobody wants to hear your opinion. Go home. What do you know other than like you know everything better and you think you're like the peak of awareness? Go fuck yourself. What?
I like how you fight it.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, I don't fight by the ones that I'm challenged by as much as I fight them if I see them with my friends.
That's so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, when I see it with myself, I just listen.
But you always fight the moment you have an inner critic around, you always fight it.
I do.
As if your life depended on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There's no, people say, well, there's some value in there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any value in there.
I don't either.
But you can find an essence in them. But that's not a value of an inner critic. You know what I mean? Like someone comes, like let's say I'm walking down the street and someone comes and has like, is in an extreme state and they throw their cup of coffee at me for no reason. No? Now, I can go home and work on that. And then I can think, okay, universe, why did you send me that? And then the universe might say, well, I was just having a good time because you were walking there and I could see you mulling over this and this and this, and you missed the fact that life is unpredictable and full of adventure. So I thought, I'm going to send you a little coffee cup along. It's going to be a shock, but you're going to survive it. And you're going to think, okay, something exciting happened today, and maybe you're going to like have a little bit of a more exciting life, right? And then I can go to that person the next day, and let's say they have a lucid moment, I can say, you're a great teacher, right? But the truth is, the person wasn't a great teacher. I was a great learner. No?
But speaking of critics, another person could go home and say, yeah, that was thrown on me because of this about me, what I did that day. The inner critic or the critic can take that experience and turn it against you.
Yeah.
Like you did that because that happened because
you had
were
that
bad.
coming.
Yeah, exactly.
You had that coming.
What you said to so-and-so earlier, no wonder.
Okay, do that.
Okay. Yeah, you had that coming.
I know. I agree.
You're well,
I agree. That was long overdue.
you should try to change yourself or do something.
I tried. I can't. It's not who I am. But it's very unconventional. I understand that a lot of people are going to hate that and try me kill me for it. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm bad. I mean, they crucified Jesus. Doesn't mean he was bad. But definitely he didn't fit into society at that point.
Yeah, I can't fight you anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know why. It's the same idea. I'm talking about the essence.
Yeah.
And they say, like you're saying, so you must have that same moral judgment against yourself and you should go with the thing. And I say, no, I got it. And yes, it's unconventional. And I myself am split about it, right? But you're a figment of my imagination. I'm not going to buy into that that's me. It's just another ghost roll out there that says you should not be who you are.
And isn't it also, I love that, it's not an inner critic, it's a moral, it belongs to a moral judgment in the status quo in a way. It doesn't go away, but as soon as you say, I'm not just here to abide by the moral codes that are given to me, you're
now, how about then say, you were caught and you killed someone, or you hurt someone, or you abused someone.
Okay. Yeah, you hurt, abused someone, killed them, and that's just, we got you now.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, that was terrible that I did. And I was lacking awareness at the time, and I, at that time, didn't know what I know today, and I learned. And but if you are trying to go against me to go against my younger self, as if that younger self should have known that, I don't agree with you. I think I did what at time I did with my awareness, and I think people change, they grow, they become more aware, and I think to go back and hold someone responsible for history, for their history, and make them pay, makes a lot of sense. It gives satisfaction, revenge, and I don't sign up for that. But okay, I mean, if that's where it goes, yes, that was my younger self, and if you're gonna come and you're gonna like imprison or take revenge on my younger self. I'll be with the younger self there, and we're going to go through this together. But I won't become judgmental against my younger self, because he was a friend, and at the time I thought he did what he could.
It's relieving to hear.
What?
It's relieving to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Thank you,
can
Max.
change. We change every day.
Yeah.
And befriending our younger and older and present selves instead of using them all as warfare against us is nice.
Yeah.
You're very cheerful, very supportive of the process. Why is it?
I don't always say that.
Uh-huh.
I don't always say that. Like I had like a seminar last year where there was a group process, and then a person came in, and it wasn't me facilitating, it was a couple of students facilitating, and the guy I thought was very forceful, and I felt that the students were doing their best, and then I came in and I said, maybe you want to give them a little space because they're students like you. And then the person says, I don't want to give them space. And I didn't come for giving them space. I said, but it says it's a learning seminar, and we're learning together, so don't you think? And the guy said no. And then I said, okay. And then they tried again, and then he came in again, and I stood up and said, okay, now sit down and shut up. And then he sat down and shut up. He was so taken. And then later he came back and said that it was abusive. And I said, no, I was forceful. I thought you were forceful, and I feel I was forceful back. And then he wasn't happy. And then he said, but I don't want them. He said, okay, I understand, good for you. And we give you the money back. And then later he wrote on the Facebook page that he didn't like the seminar. And then I wrote him a private note and said, you know, like all people, I of course don't like to be publicly criticized. However, I'm glad you did it, because my whole work is about the freedom of expression, and I can't only like the freedom of expression if it's in my favor. I have to love the freedom of expression also if it is against me. So good for you. So that's when you say you're always supportive and cheerful, it's not true.
But I want to answer the other question, the supportive and cheerful one, because this is what I'm dreaming into your question, is you're saying, this is what I dream, if someone comes with an issue and you work with them, that you are inviting of the process, that you're inviting towards the thing that the person feels bad about or is marginalizing. Like
The unknown.
yes.
Yes.
As soon as something that is pushed away, marginalized, and not liked starts to come forward, it's beautiful to see it and you want it more, and you say, hi, come, no, it's okay. We will love you here. We do love you here. We want to meet you. So I think there's something like this.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
I'd love to. So, in the good old days, when I was a learner and was trained in the beginning of process work, in those good old days, we would spend like weeks and nights discussing a work in the middle. So like we would have a work in the middle and something didn't work well, we would stay up like for 5-6 days, and I would not sleep till I knew what went wrong. And I feel at that time, all our colleagues, we were like completely completely passionate in what we did. It was new, and we spent basically like hours and hours sitting about our cases, every detail. Whenever we didn't understand something, I had a supervision. I went and had my session, and I said, I want to bring this and that, and I learned a lot. That was the good old days. But the good old days are coming back. Why? Look, for example, we were talking about before, you look somewhat this youth movement and what is happening in like the dance area and the song area, and you see how the break dancers and the rappers and all of this, and you can see in order to do that, they have to train every day for years to get there. You know, so today's youth, I think, it's changing. We went through a normal period of like now, we're having life easier, we can relax a little bit, and now comes youth and they're passionate about one thing. You look, of the teamwork that you see, for example, in some of the young K-pop groups. And you see the years of discipline, passion, and complete self-discipline and sacrifice that goes in there. You sit like up in Kenya with the marathoners, we sometimes run up in Kenya with the marathon people, and they haven't had a dessert in like 5 years. They like spend everything, their entire passion goes into doing that. So I think this is coming back. I think we went through a phase where everything started to become a little bit more relaxed for a lot of people, or maybe it was just me. And then we talk about youth, but I think youth is more free to follow what they're passionate about, and their entire discipline and focus goes in there, and it's fantastic and inspiring.
And you're saying this is your positivity and your supportive attitude.
So a lot of that comes because I've learned a lot. And like I had like a lot of difficulties and like hundreds of things that I lost focus or whatever. And then I worked on that. I brought it to my supervision or something like that. I'm still cashing in on that. So a lot of things that I say or do came actually out of supervision sessions that happened with Arnie, when I would say I have this and this problem, or I had this and this issue with this person, and he would say, oh, just try this or that. And he didn't say it's a role, whatever. He just told me that, and I followed it, and then later I understood, right, this is the role switch.
And that's
We didn't have role switch at the time yet. In the beginning it was, I mean, this is what, in my mind, Arnie drove to write all these books.
Yeah, but so, and that is actually just plain joyful. If you've struggled and learned and you're in a mastery space in your life, it's fun and you're in a good mood if you're doing your work. Because you're not possessed by critics every time you walk in the middle. Yeah. And you struggled hard for it. It doesn't just come.
And then you learn, right? Like I would also sometimes think there's complicated people. No? And then not all that long ago, about like 8 or 9 years ago, I was having a Muay Thai session with my American Muay Thai trainer, who was growing up in a marginalized community, and who was an amazing person, and hadn't studied psychology, and hadn't had an opportunity or an interest in completing like normal schooling type of thing. And we were often chatting, you know, before and after the session, whatever. And then at one point we were talking about someone, and I said, yeah, I know this about him. He's a complicated person. And he looked at me. He was like 20 years younger than me, but with the wisdom of how he grew up. And he said, man, We are all complicated people. And also I knew this in that moment that changed my life, because how that came up with the whole wisdom, whatever. So I feel the learning goes on. Since that day, I no longer think of complicated people. Whenever I think this is a complicated person, I hear his voice.
That's beautiful.
Don't you guys have stuff like that? Yeah. No?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are saying learning is actually a whole thing, and you learn, pick something up, and then you deepen it yourself. And
Yeah, over long periods. And it's joyful, the moments when it becomes part of you and you're different because of it. Those are beautiful moments. Yeah.
beautiful.
Are we cool spotting again?
Yeah.
We're cool spotting. I just made a new word. Verb, I mean.
Yeah.
It's a cool spot. It's also cool. And I feel we got to a cool, really cool space. And many cool spaces through this day and through these years. And this is cool. So that's what I wanted to say.
Maybe the vocabulary should be changed. They should be called warm spot, because it means it becomes warmer between people.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then instead of we say that's a hot spot, we should say it's a cold spot.
Yeah. Or although people are going to get highly confused, we can say cool, K-U-H-L.
There you go.
Anyway, I like it.
You're going to rapify it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was an amazing day. Thank you so
I have
much.
a question for you. When you, over the years, you've been doing this, and I'm just waking up more and more, and today, what the amazing thing you're doing with your filming. And then what in you allows you to continue and doing this incredible work?
I am afraid to be very, very banal, but it's the beauty of your work. So I cannot stop, because it's just more beautiful than anything else.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
It's
Wow.
It's this moment that is life, and I want to film it, frame it, then look at it, then see, okay, this moment, then maybe we edit it this way. So people are passionate about their things. I'm passionate about this.
I feel like that's so beautiful to hear, by the way, how you put your heart and soul in it. And it comes all the way through you in everything.
Also, it gives me a connection to you, like personal connection to you. We do something together, you know.
Isn't that beautiful? God is an artist. No? She's an artist. She creates the beauty. And then what you're saying is that's a spiritual process. If something is beautiful, you know you're on, if you see that. So, for example, if you work with a person, or when you edit, and I feel that from you, the edit is how, you know. So now I have the answer why I call it beautiful people, because it's an artistic thing. No, essences are beautiful, and the beauty of that is that in the actual expression is complicated, right? Volcanoes, we have like a volcano picture in our upcoming seminars. That's creativity. The reason I picked that picture was it's the creativity of nature. Now comes the complication. Sometimes it can form a new island. Sometimes it can form a new continent. Someone can destroy a village. Sometimes it can kill a lot of people. But the essence of the creativity is amazing and beautiful. And then the rest is unfolding. Can you follow that?
Yes.
You have to unfold it. It becomes beautiful when you unfold it because you see it's part of the whole expression of the divine.
Yeah.
But that's a personal journey for everyone.
Isn't this, in a way you can talk about the life myth, how we started in the beginning?
Say more.
Like you said sometimes a person will say, how come I have this thing where I have no friends or whatever? But it's an expression, in a temporal expression, but when you unfold it, you get to the beauty and the essence. And our whole life journeys, each of us, is when you unfold whatever the thing is, you reconnect with the essence, which is also something like your life myth, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the beauty again. Isn't it something similar?
Yes.
But along the way, it's a lot of complications.
Yes.
But then they point that way.
Yes, yes.
And in the expression, it comes through different channels. And we talked about the channels, like there's relationship or body or
Music, dancing.
all different ways this information expresses itself.
Now I understand what exactly is beautiful and why is it beautiful, because of the essence.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And I think maybe if you develop a relationship to your essence a little bit, and I think you don't have to be in that all the time, but if you're able to produce that occasionally, I think it brings a general sense of cheerfulness and happiness with you. Because I start to trust myself that if a difficulty comes up, I'll be able to do something alchemical with it, that I'm going to come out with some kind of a learning or a sense of an insight.
Right.
And then I have to cherish that, you know.
You genius.
Yeah.
Right
Put
on.
it there. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you,
you.
thank you, thank you.
That was super fun. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, it's perfect.
So
It's
sweet.
20 to 5. Great. Okay. Awesome. You're going back to Cyprus now?
Yes.
You are?